Nadia Hardman is a refugee and migrant rights researcher at Human Rights Watch. She's also co-author of this latest report. She joins me now from Beirut with more. Thanks so much for being with us, Nadia. It was hard enough dealing with the refugee crisis on the Turkey-Greece border, both at sea and on land, and now you have the additional concern of trying to prevent COVID-19. According to your report, no precautions have been taken to protect refugees and migrants in Greece whatsoever.
In none of the cases that we documented did any of the migrants or asylum seekers mention any situation where they were required to social distance or have a temperature check or in some way be medically protected. To the contrary, whilst they were trying to seek international protection and asylum in Greece, they were instead forced back to Turkey. And as you mentioned at the outset, in cases violently. We documented cases for the first time for Human Rights Watch deep inside Greek territory, 400 kilometers from the Turkish border, and summary pushbacks from the Aegean Sea. And those that were pushed back in the Aegean Sea were forced onto unsuitable inflatable life rafts with no navigation equipment and just cast adrift. And luckily, the Turkish Coast Guard in those instances were able to pick those asylum seekers and migrants up. But what we have is a situation where in the darkness of a global pandemic, when all eyes were focused elsewhere, Greek authorities, Greek law enforcement officers were instead pushing back the most vulnerable and in a way which completely flouted any sort of medical protection.
You know, I noticed a detail in your report. Maybe it's an anomaly or it's nothing, I don't know. But you mentioned these unidentified masked men also assaulting or pushing back refugees. Are those just security forces masking themselves, or might there be an issue with members of the public actually getting involved, trying to get rid of the refugees and migrants that are on Greek territory?
I mean, the answer is we do not know, and that is because we were not on the ground doing this investigation. Of course, because of COVID-19, we were doing this research remotely, so we were relying on testimony. Although we understand as well from other civil society organizations and our own documentation in the past that masked men, unidentified men, have been, and potentially women, we do not know, have been deployed and utilized to implement these pushbacks. They could be members of the public. They could be members of the Greek law enforcement body. We do not know, but they add to the threat faced and felt by asylum seekers and migrants when someone is presented in a balaclava and dressed in black and carrying weapons. In a country which upholds supposedly the highest standards of international protection,
right.
And these unidentified people were used to push back
right.
Migrants and asylum seekers.
And I mean, it is at all of our peril if authorities there ignore, I'm going back to the COVID-19 issue, allow potential spread among the thousands of people in these refugee and migrant groups now. If they're not protected, we can all pay the price for that. So, I mean, that as well, what are you calling? You're calling for the EU to take action, but in what form exactly?
We're calling for the European Commission specifically to, I mean, the EU funds Greek migration control policies. So it is in their interest, as well as being the mandate holder of fundamental rights and international protection, to be vigilant about its member states that are breaching those promises to uphold international protections. We are asking the EU and the European Commission to open legal proceedings against Greece, to investigate and to urge Greece to hold accountable anyone who is found to be responsible for these violent pushbacks. We need to understand if this is a de facto Greece government policy or if this is implemented at a lower level. It is looking like a de facto policy, but we need an investigation, a transparent one, to understand this. And we need to believe that the EU will stand by the promise of the rule of law. And I think the fact that we continue to document the same pushbacks and most worryingly now from deep inside Greece during a global pandemic is evidence of the fact that Greece feels a certain level of immunity and impunity because it is not facing any consequences.
Okay. Nadia Hardman joining us there. Thank you so much for that from Beirut. We appreciate it.